Megan made a really good point, I guess. So who are we and what do we do with the Achievement Program? So as the coordinators, we have a lot of roles, but one of our roles is to help the people who are out there in the community advocating for the Achievement Program. And so that's all of you. So we do have our phone lines and we have our emails. So when these questions come up, we do want to be able to workshop with you. We want to be able to talk about the different barriers you're coming up against, because we also talk to other people in the community and other health promoters. So you might be coming up against a barrier that someone else has already dealt with before. As Megan said, my name's Laura. Sorry I didn't introduce myself at the start. So I'm the workplace coordinator. I've also done a bit of a career change. My background is in marketing, and then also I've just qualified as a nutritionist. I've done corporate health and wellbeing as well as blue collar health and wellbeing programs before for a larger organisation. Also done some corporate accounts and travelled probably a little bit too much throughout my 20s. So that's me in a bit of a nutshell. And I look forward to getting to know a few of you in the break a little bit more as well. The Workplace Program is a program that's done across Australia. So each state in Australia actually has their own workplace program that we look at that came from the Healthy Workers Initiative. The Achievement Program is ours. And one of the points of difference is that we also share resources with our education program. And originally when I started, I wasn't too sure about where our point of difference is and how they overlap. But the wonderful thing about it is we get to actually share more resources with each other and share more barriers in how we work through our programs. So like the education program, we have a framework, and this framework is based on the World Health Organization's Healthy Workplace model. So we also like to take a whole of settings approach, and that's just to make sure that we're not stagnant. We're not putting out this wonderful information and then no one's being able to pick it up. So anyone else with health promotion backgrounds, we know that health education isn't really going to cut it when we're trying to create whole of culture change anymore. So we also want to look at, if we're promoting how to eat healthy, what services are we putting in the environment that are conducive to you eating healthy? What services are we putting out there that are also in the community? Do we have a corner store that's going to provide healthy food as well? And then also, what type of policies are in place? Do we do cakes? Do we do cakes and chocolates when we are going to put on catering for an external event? Or do we make sure that we abide by the Healthy Choices guidelines? So this is what we mean by a whole of settings approach. And if we were looking at mental health, for example, we'd have policies in there for flexible leave. That would fall under healthy culture. We'd also have policies in there for return to work. And we also might have a policy or an EAP in there, so for employees to be able to talk to if they're not having a very nice time. Physical environments, do we have quiet rooms or breakout rooms for people to be able to talk to each other? Do we have places where people can share a lunch? So these things don't actually have to be that difficult. It's about trying to foster a sense of community in different organisations. Community connections is maybe you go and you do some corporate volunteering, or maybe you have community events and you want to do Dry July, and maybe you want to do it as a whole of organisation. And then health and wellbeing opportunities can be anything from offering healthy cooking demonstrations all the way through to resilience training, all the way through to just reminding people that it's okay to talk about mental health and wellbeing. And you're going to find that with the organisations you work with, very similar to the organisations you're in yourself, we're all going to be at different places in our journey. The Cancer Council also, we're at a different place in our journey, working on different health priorities and concentrating on different aspects of our framework. Our health priority areas are slightly different to education setting. We look at smoking, healthy eating, mental health and wellbeing, physical activity and alcohol. For those of you who know the term SNAP, we say SNAP plus mental health. And we think it's really important to look at different areas. We don't want to concentrate on just one. There's a lot of people out there that are doing it. We want to concentrate on the whole person and take a holistic view to health and wellbeing. So we know that those people who are suffering from mental ill health, they're half as likely to complete any type of physical activity, and they're also twice as likely to smoke. This is why we think it's really important to look at a person as a whole and not just as single health priority areas and not just through the single dimensions. We also have cycle. I won't spend too long on it. We're a continuous improvement cycle, and this is just to make sure that we're embedding these changes in an organisation. So at the start of it, the most important part is to set up the leadership, and this is often something that can be a bit of a barrier for workplaces, and a lot of health promoters have passed on that, how do we get to leadership? I've got this health coordinator, I've got a health champion in an organisation, and they're really excited to make change, but they're not the ones with the power. So it's about how we get these messages across to the leadership in an organisation to try to set up a full organisation commitment and to try and have some top-down as well as bottom-up changes happening. It's really important when we look at the organisations to do a needs assessment. I have given a couple of these speeches or these workshops lately, specifically for workplaces, and I like to tell a story here. A few years ago when I did work in corporate health, I worked with a workplace and they were really excited and they were going to do, they just graduated nutrition and they were going to do a healthy eating expo. They got fantastic sign-up rates and they were very excited, and on the day they were really busy, so they didn't actually show up to this workshop. They came down out of their meeting afterwards, they wanted to see how it went, and I had a look at who showed up for the workshop, and they found out that they had a 10% show-up rate. Of the 30 people that could have attended, I think they had something ridiculous like 5, and they had a waiting list. She was shattered. She was absolutely shattered. She was so excited to do this, and she spoke to a few friends. She said, you know, hey Megan, what was it like? Why didn't you go to the workshop? And they said, oh, I couldn't go. I got pulled into this meeting. She was like, oh, okay, I get that. I had a meeting. She spoke to someone else, and she said, did you go to the workshop? And they said, no. I wanted to go, and I'd done all my work, but no one from my team could go because they were all too busy, and I didn't want them to think I had no work because I have too much work. So she was like, okay, I guess that makes sense. So my friend could have turned away from this, but one of the things she did do was she decided to dig a little bit deeper. Instead of burying her head in the sand, she said, why didn't anyone go? Guys, this is a free service, what's going on? And what they actually found when they dug a little bit deeper with their needs assessment was they didn't have a culture that was conducive to someone being able to show up to a lunchtime lunch and learn session. People didn't feel comfortable going to something like this. So what they ended up doing was completing a full needs assessment and realising that they actually need to work on a bit of mental health. They actually need to see what was going on with the culture and that it wasn't right to work on healthy eating. So this step is really important because people can often go in and go, right, we need physical activity, we've got heaps of obese people, but it might be that you've actually got a smoking problem. Or it might be the fact that people don't understand your general healthy diets. So it's really important at this step, when you're talking to organisations, that just because they might want to work on something doesn't mean it's the priority of the organisation or of the people in the organisation. We have action plan templates as well, and I'm going to go into our resources a little bit more in the next few slides. And we also do recognition, but one of the important points we like to talk to is to evaluate. So we try to foster a continuous evaluation. What are we testing at the start? What do we already have in an organisation that we can look at? So a lot of people who are in organisations don't have those health or community backgrounds that you guys have. So it's reminding them that they have absentee data, they might have EAP data. Do they have a vending machine? How often is it stocked? What's it stocked with? So there are lots of things that are free in their organisation that aren't a physical needs assessment to see what someone's CVD risk is. So there are a lot of different places we can look at to test some starting points for our evaluation at the end. Some of our resources are different to the education. So we find that one of our barriers and one of the things people want is how to get a business on board. So we have business case templates. We're also updating some of those at the moment, and we also have slides available for health promoters to take to organisations to talk them through the program. What we do find is we're coming from a place of let's be healthy, let's help everybody, we want everybody to feel good. But often we find that organisations and businesses are coming from a what's our return on investment? I need to look good because I did something bad the other day. Or how can I keep the good staff here because they're going to other businesses? So one of the things the business case template does, and one of the things we're going to concentrate on this year, is trying to give you guys the tools to talk the talk with the businesses to get those health changes that we want on the end. So we're still going to get the same result, but it's about how to show them that they need it for a different reason. We have benchmarks, and as Megan said, they're very similar, and you can come and have a chat if you'd like a little bit more information, otherwise they're on the portal. Ours are per health priority area, so we have 5 different sets of benchmarks, and then they fall into the dimensions. So as well, they're the set of best practice, how are we going to reach these? In order to reach them, we have a toolkit, and the toolkit can be used as an action plan. So as you're filling it out, the toolkit's the one on the right of the screen there. As you're filling it out, you can say, right, okay, where am I at? What have I done? I've done all this healthy eating, that's great, okay. I've done all, I've made sure I've changed our vending machines, that's great, okay, we're doing these demonstrations. But how do people know where the farmers market is? Or how do people know that we have a bus to the local supermarket? So realising that maybe you need to have a look at your community connections in that area, and there might not be that much you have to do to reach the benchmark. If you are not reaching in a specific area, our toolkit has links to the different services and organisations that can help you through it. So it might be as simple as a link to another state's program that says exactly what you have to do to reach your 2 and 5 in terms of your fruit and veggies. Or it could be a link to some low cost, no cost services about resilience and management training. The other things we have, we've got Heart Foundation walking groups, we've got templates, and we've also got policy examples that are all linked in here. So some of them do link back to our website, and they're just meant to show you the different areas you can get help. So it can seem overwhelming, but we want to take out some of those barriers for you so it can seem a little bit more achievable. And once you map yourself on the toolkit and then see the areas you can go to, we've found anecdotal feedback as people feel like it's a little bit easier to do. We also have partners. We don't have the same programs as Smiles for Miles, as I didn't really know about too much until I started in this role, but now I know everything about. Workplaces don't tend to like to do programs. They want to know what they get for it. But what we do have is we have support partners. So we have places you can go for the resources, because quite often in workplaces, people like to go and get their own information. They don't necessarily like to be told what to do. So that's one of the things that works with the flexible approach, but we do make sure we've got partners like the Better Health Channel, the Heart Foundation, Vic Chamber of Commerce is another one, the Healthy and Advisory Service that we try and link up with. And we also link up with them to make sure that our information we're providing to you guys and to the community is relevant and is evidence-based and is best practice. There's no point us talking about 2 and 5 if it's changed to 2 and 6. So we do make sure we're agile and we're staying up to date with our partners and getting them to review our services quite often. Our recognition is something that is very important to some and not so important to others. So one of the things we do want to work on is with you guys, how can we help you recognise settings? Can we do a media release? Can we do a blog post? Can we provide you with some information about how you can go to your local newspaper? One of the things we find that does really work is, especially with businesses, they like to tell people when they're doing good things. And it's something that's going to keep them coming back, and it's something that's going to keep engaging them. We've got some examples, I think, that we put in the last Health Promoter e-update that people might have seen, of just some different organisations like yourselves, and we're hoping to put a bit of a bank up for some news and press releases that you can see other organisations doing with their settings. We're also trying to change a little bit of our look. We've got a news certificate, which is on the side here. We're trying to make it look a bit fancier. We're trying to appeal to our organisations, and we want it to be something that's of value. So if you're finding that you might have a good idea about how to promote and recognise an achievement, come and chat to us. We're happy to come out, we're happy to help you with ceremonies. We just don't know what the needs are of your different communities. So we're here to help, but if you have any questions, just give us a call.